Okay, time for another really huge mistake. And I see people doing this all the time. As you know, I'm Canadian. I see a lot of Canadians doing this. They buy homes just because they're cheap. So they tend to go into markets like Detroit, markets that are suffering. And because it's very tempting to go buy a home for $30,000 because that's a tenth of what a home's going to cost you in any city in Canada. Do not buy homes just because they're cheap. Buy homes because they make sense, because they give you a good return on investment. Make sure they're in the right neighborhoods. There's markets that I'm in, such as Atlanta. I love that market. And I could buy homes for $30,000 and $40,000, but they're in really crappy neighborhoods. When you buy in crappy neighborhoods, you attract crappy tenants. So now you got a bad neighborhood, bad house, bad tenant. And what kind of property manager are you going to attract? If your rent is $500 or $600 a month, property managers typically make 10%. So they could go manage your property and make $40 or $50 a month to go risk their lives to go into the hood, or they could be doing less work by going into a nice neighborhood and making $150 or $200 a month with little risk to they're not taking their lives in their hands by going to collect rent. So crappy neighborhoods attract crappy tenants and crappy property managers. The people who want to work in those neighborhoods are usually people that are desperate. So you want to buy homes in decent neighborhoods. The best money, by the way, is in neighborhoods that are mostly owner-occupied, not where it's all rentals. Areas where people want to get into the best schools, where people stay put, they're not moving all the time, and less transient. And because these people stay put, they're taking better care of their homes, there's pride of ownership, and those homes appreciate a whole lot more. So it's very tempting to go buy a cheap house, maybe that's all you can afford. I would rather buy a more expensive house and finance it than buy a cheap house just because I can afford to pay the cash. Because guess what you're buying? When you're buying cheap homes, you're typically buying headaches, nightmares, bad returns, and actually what we call paper returns. So we'll get back to places like Detroit and some of the Ohio markets and Buffalo. There's a lot of these cities that are very inexpensive, and they're inexpensive for a good reason. So because unemployment is very high, people are moving away looking for jobs, they're leaving the city. We see this all the time where these homes are cheap. You can buy a $30,000 home and allegedly it rents for $700 a month. But if nobody has any work, you're lucky if you get 2 months out of the year worth of rent. And what ends up happening is they'll pay the first month. If you're lucky, the tenants will pay the second month. And then guess what happens? They can't afford to pay anymore. Then you go through the legal process of trying to evict them from the house. They have nowhere to go, so they're gonna do whatever it takes to try and stay there as long as they can. And after months and months and months, you finally get rid of them. Well, guess what happens when you're in a city where homes are cheap and there's high unemployment? People are going to do whatever it takes to survive. So what do? They're going to go break into your home, steal the copper, they're going to steal the toilets, they're going to steal the appliances. So now this great deal that looked really promising on paper, when you account for the vacancy, when you account for the lack of rent, when you account for all the repairs, instead of making this really beautiful return that you were expecting, now you're taking losses year after year after year. You got headaches, you got stress. That's not why we get into real estate. If that's what you want to do, you're probably you've got the wrong mentor, because I am not going to allow you to do that. I'm going to show you how to have a stress-free, happy career, happy lifestyle, happy balance in your life. You're not going to get that buying cheap homes. So the goal is to buy, in a perfect world, you're buying cheap homes in a great neighborhood, but that doesn't usually happen. So don't worry about cheap, worry about return on investment, worry about cash flow, worry about lifestyle that it's going to give you. If you're buying stuff and you've got all these nightmares and every day you're putting out fires, it's not worth it. Don't invest at all. Keep your money in your bank, buy gold, leave it under your mattress. Do not get yourself into the stress. It's not worth it. And I used to do that too. So I'm speaking from experience. That's what I've learned over the years, because I used to buy homes in all kinds of different neighborhoods. And then over time, I realized that certain neighborhoods, the ones that usually look really good on paper, are usually not the ones that actually deliver the best results. Get yourself into owner-occupied neighborhoods, get good tenants, good properties, good property managers. When you have all those pillars in place, you're going to be much happier. You're going to be a lot healthier, you're not going to have the stress, and you're going to thank me. So the sooner you start applying some of this stuff, the better off you're going to be.